You know, when there is a much awaited choreography that is about to release, I'm geared up for it. And especially if Madhuri Dixit is featuring in it, there is curiosity because of the years she has spent in performing various forms of dance on celluloid. Ami Je Tomar from the first Bhool Bhulaiya was an absolute rage, both in terms of the context, which was that this was being performed by Avni, who finds herself in a trance, absolutely losing herself to Manjulika, dancing with her partner, assuming it to be the king's court. That was one thing, but also the choreography that does a back and forth between Avni's manic state and how the original performance may have been. The important point that I want you to keep in mind when seeing the original film's choreography is the setting in which they are performing. This is a set created where the floor, the background, and the characters, and even the walls behind them are not even partially digitally rendered. You can especially point this out in the manner in which the shadows of both the characters move, as the film is not going through a digital rendering of a green screen that gets transformed, say, into a tile floor. The characters are not seeming, they are actually performing on a set that has been made to emulate a king's court. So there is nothing left for imagination for the crew shooting the sequence. Now, when you look at Ami Je Tomar 3.0, there is first of all one thing that all of you cannot deny, which is the heavy dependence on films of today to airbrush the hell out of film's characters. We have seen this happen with our beloved stars who are obviously aging. Leaving that aside, even stars who are not that old, the digital dependence to completely whitewash their face, so much so that they become one uniform color, is becoming increasingly concerning. You will see this with the lead pair of Tu Jhooti Main Makar and with actors like Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan in movies like Donkey and Kisi Ka Bhai Kisi Ki Jaan. So when we see Vidya Balan and Madhuri Dixit, who by the way in all the events are looking absolutely beautiful, you can see how the technical team has airbrushed the hell out of their faces, so much so that they even come across as 2 to 3 shades lighter than what they actually are. While I find it an absolute privilege to see Madhuri Dixit dance and just be in awe of her expressions, and kudos to Vidya Balan to try and match the same finesse and precision she has mastered over the years with classical dance, but the harsh pill to swallow in the case of face-offs, especially when you're sharing the stage with Madhuri Dixit, is that you mostly pale in comparison. I'll tell you when, however, it wasn't that sharp of a contrast later in the video. The issue that most people are having with Ami Je Tomar 3.0 is not necessarily the choreography, but what is seeming like a poor render of the floor in this frame. See, when essentially you have a darbar which has windows and you have presented portions of the sunlight beaming towards where the characters are performing, there is bound to be shadows as they move in several directions. At least when you look at this frame, you'll notice that both the characters, while dancing in close proximity to each other, are not producing the shadows that would be inevitable in a natural setting, and they almost seem to be floating on the floor. This is primarily because, and this is all an assumption, it seems that both the characters may have performed together, yes, but one by one, and were then superimposed in this same frame. This, however, is only true for the first 8 counts of the choreography of the glimpse. If you, however, see both the characters perform together in the snippet later on in the video, the shadows naturally follow both the actors, and they seem to be in close proximity to each other, clearly coming across as performing together and for the king's court. Madhuri Dixit, however, is just different gravy. And I still say this with utmost empathy for Vidya Balan. She tries her best, but there is a clear distinction between a trained classical dancer and one who has danced, yes, but has not learnt the art form to that level. And this you will especially notice as a difference when you see how they start and end a movement. When you'll see Madhuri Dixit turn and the forms of her hands, it's clear-cut precision of the start and end point. Whereas you will see that there will be an almost incomplete movement while twirling and back with Vidya Balan, almost anticipating the next step versus focusing on finishing the first step. I know this is technical jargon, but what I am trying also to tell you is that the contrast to the naked eye becomes obvious only because there is a disparity in technique. I'm sure this is just a glimpse of the entire performance and we'll get to see more of it on the big screen. I really feel though they should have left it for the theatre, but I think it's also a smart marketing move because Ami Je Tomar has a huge recall value. I'm actually very curious about what is the point of conflict between the both of them, and more importantly, who the hell is this silhouette dancing in the initial portions, because I genuinely believe the trump card or surprise of this film is going to be Tripti Dimri. What I wanted to also focus on with this video was to tell you about several instances where actors have faced off in dance sequences and the instances in which it has been a perfect balance and a complete disparity. Staying on the topic of Madhuri Dixit, she is no stranger to dance-offs. The dance of envy is something that most 90s kids remember, as Madhuri Dixit and Karishma Kapoor faced off with one another. This is where you will actually see both the actors being slightly out of their depth, as it is a jazz choreography done by Shamak Davar, which has a more dynamic movement where a lot of your core is involved. It doesn't have the same lachak and nazakat that most Bollywood numbers had from the 90s, and it's more about performing to the last row in the auditorium. Here both the actors suffer from throwing their energy, and there is little control presented by both, where the arms are flailing everywhere, and despite the high energy the choreography demands, there is a lack of precision in the performance. They make up with their energy, but the movement is not as clean as most choreographers would tell you. This is not the case when you see Madhuri Dixit perform with Prabhu Deva on Ke Sera Sera. Imagine matching up to Prabhu Deva at his prime. You know, Prabhu Deva is a choreographer who is not everyone's cup of tea, and by that I mean he is going to hand over you some of the most complicated contortions and shapes you can think of. And this will either come out like a beautiful and intricate choreography like Hrithik and Main Aisa Kyun Hoon or Shahid in Gandhi Path, or it can be a catastrophe like Suraiya and Katrina Kaif. But when it's just the right mix of the desiness that comes with pelvic movements and then a fast combination of steps, you get Ke Sera Sera. Just the right blend for both Prabhu Deva and Madhuri to excel. You can see the fun that they are having, and fun is infectious. When you see it on screen, you have a perpetual smile on your face. The case, however, where the balance is just right, where it isn't extraordinary, nor is it a complete train wreck, is two songs that I can think of, which include Pinga from Bajirao Mastani and Girls Like to Swing from Dil Dhadakne Do. You know, fun choreography that isn't as complicated from a staging and choreography point of view, but both the actors complement each other well. I have to tell you this from a dancer's perspective. When you have really long limbs, as in long arms and legs, it becomes very tough for you to assimilate with a dance crew without standing out awkwardly, because your lines are much further and bigger than a set of dancers performing in perfect sync. This is where Deepika shines in Pinga, complementing Priyanka so well in both the energy of the performance and even the lines in her choreography. You literally see her limiting the distance her hands go in the hook step because it has to work for the bigger picture. In Girls Like to Swing, despite Anushka being the dancer in the film, I think Priyanka in her small appearance almost overshadowed her, making me also conclude after making this video that Priyanka is a bloody good dancer. I think something she doesn't get enough credit for. Speaking of overshadowing, if you're going to showcase to me Hrithik Roshan dancing on Dil Lagana with Aishwarya also joining the party, you think I'm going to pay attention to Abhishek and Uday Chopra doing the same hook step? By the way, Aishwarya is one of the only actresses who complements Hrithik so well, even in a challenging choreography like the Dhoom 2 title track, Katrina coming a close second, especially if you see Bang Bang. Irrespective, when I was talking about Ami Je Tomar and people were telling me not to create a comparative analysis, you have to realize this is inevitable with face-offs. People will compare the flair and precision with which the same choreography is performed. Another actor who complements Hrithik so well is Tiger in Jai Jai Shiv Shankar. Such an energetic and fun choreography, and both the actors absolutely killing it. Just on a side note, I will never understand making a dance movie with non-dancers. What the hell was Jhoom Barabar Jhoom? Of course, I cannot make this video without talking about the iconic Dola Re Dola. Probably one of the most iconic dance performances by two leading ladies choreographed by Saroj Khan, who I think the industry dearly misses because I think there is a void with classical dance numbers that left with her. Not only did Madhuri and Aishwarya beautifully complement each other, but the dance performance is a brilliant example of long shots to ensure that at least 2 to 4 counts of 8 reach their completion for there to be a cut. This allows you to see the beautiful movement from start to finish, versus the incessant cuts that we see in so many of dance performances of today. It's another great example of choreography not just being a random collection of steps, but storytelling where characters are interacting with each other, where the lyrics convey something about the film and the dynamic between them, versus me just doing random collection of dance steps and get a pat on the back for maybe marginally pulling off a choreography. Which brings me to my point. Enough with the footwork, Karthik. Enough. Put your foot down, literally, and say you want to do something else. We cannot keep on seeing these amalgamation of footwork as choreography in every movie. They seem to look the exact same. Did I leave out anything else? I think I did leave out the most iconic face-off though. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below your thoughts on choreography, especially Ami Je Tomar 3.0 and the various face-offs you've seen in Bollywood over the years. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.